This isn't gonna work well.
It's fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's time for The Dirt Show with your favorite host, The Dirt Guy. And it starts right now.
Hey, welcome to Dirt Guy Drive Time, the show where I drive around being victimized by real estate developers. Today we're going to talk a little bit about my recent trip to Washington, D.C., and the time I spent with the president there. But before we do, if you haven't already done it, how about pushing that subscribe button right there? There are so many of these videos coming up, and you don't want to miss them. You know what I'm saying? Because if you miss them, bad things will happen to you, and I don't want that to happen. Let's just go ahead and push subscribe and be done with it, and then I think it'll be fine. So for those of you who don't know, the president gave me a call and said, hey, Dirt Guy, I need you to come to Washington. Need to talk about national security. Now, I don't normally modify my schedule for just anybody, but the call seemed kind of urgent, and I figured, you know, they're going to put me on a first-class flight. Later on, I found out it was a C-130 cargo plane. I was sitting next to Gibbs from NCIS. Go figure. But anyway, you know, we went ahead and flew out there and got the whole escort up to the White House. Now, I can't talk about everything we discussed because, again, it was a national security matter. And matter of fact, just to be sure I keep things square, they even sent a Secret Service agent home with me. And matter of fact, he's sitting in the truck right next to me right now. Why don't you say hi? Don't talk about national security. So since I can't talk about our national security conversation, you know, I can talk about some of the questions the president asked me, because the president is under the impression that I kind of represent the complete demographic of the American populace, which I do, of course. So anyway, he wanted to know what I thought the most pressing issue on the minds of the American people was. And, you know, I didn't have to think very long on that. I mean, it took me 1, maybe 2 seconds, and I had the answer. I said, you know, I'm really concerned about beer discrimination. The president was like, huh? And I was like, you know. The president was like, I don't know. And so I was like, maybe the president really doesn't know. So I went ahead and communicated my concerns about the great beer conspiracy. Now, here's the deal. I like to drink Miller Genuine Draft. It's my favorite beer, best beer ever made. If you haven't tried it, run out and buy yourself a 20-pack right now. And I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed. This stuff is like the nectar of the gods. So, you know, I like drinking Miller Genuine Draft, or as we would call it, MGD. And but I can't seem to find it when me and the wife go out to dinner anywhere. Couldn't find it on the cruise ship we went on. Can't find it on an airplane. Can't find it in no restaurant. So I said, Prez, what do you think about that? The president looked at me for a minute and then called in one of his secretaries. I think it was the Secretary of the Navy, and told the secretary, go get some MGDs so we can understand what the Dirt Guy's talking about. So the secretary comes back with a 20-pack MGDs, and me and the president pop some tops and we start shooting them back. Well, first of all, the president can drink beer, just like one of the boys. It's amazing. So the president, you know, finished a couple of beers and then said, you know, Dirt Guy, thank you for bringing this to my attention, because I had no idea that this beer was this good and not for sale in restaurants and everything. It's like racial discrimination in the form of a beer when you think about it. And I've thought a great deal about it. So the president asked a pretty good follow-up question, I thought. Said, hey, Dirt Guy, so when you go out and there isn't any MGD, then what do you do? And I said, well, you know, it's taken years to find a solution. I've gone through a whole bunch of different kinds of beers. I've tried light beers, dark beers, green beers, beers from other countries, beers from other planets. I finally found a beer that's pretty close to the MGD that I like to drink, and that beer is the Modelo. Modelo is not a bad beer. It's got the same kind of body. I kind of enjoy drinking it when I can't have my go-to MGD. But then that brought my second concern, to light, and that I had to bring up the president. I said, hey, Prez, there's another thing that is really bothering the American people. It's really troubling us and actually threatening our way of life. So at that point, I had the attention of everyone in the room, which I got to tell you is a little uncomfortable to be in the Oval Office with every eye on you, and everybody wants to know, they're hanging on your next word. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. I asked the president, I said, what's going on with the grapefruit conspiracy? The president was like, excuse me? Sometimes you got to spell it out for people. You know what I mean? I said, you know, the grapefruit conspiracy. The president said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, you don't know what I'm talking about? The president said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Explain it to me. You know, at this point, I kind of figured maybe the president doesn't know what I'm talking about. I said, here's the thing. I really noticed it once I switched to Modelo's when I went out, because every time I order a beer, if I don't say anything, the beer shows up with a freaking lime on it. I didn't ask for the lime. I cannot stand lime in my beer. And then the wheels started turning. Wait a minute. When I order a beer, it comes with a lime. Sometimes it'll come with a lemon. And there was a time when I ordered a beer that actually came with an orange. And then there's some kind of apple-y kind of beer that I tried that came with an apple on the glass. And in all of those cases, I never asked for the fruit, never asked for it. It just showed up. Boom. When did that start? Nobody asked me what I thought about that. Nobody got my vote on that one. So the president looks at me, and the president calls in the Secretary of Agriculture. Secretary comes in. President says, is this true what he's saying about the fruit? And the Secretary of Agriculture didn't have a clue. No idea. It was like, what? And the president was like, you know. And he was like, no, I don't. And the president was like, you're the Secretary of Agriculture. You must know. The Secretary of Agriculture was like, I don't know. So I had to tell the story again to the Secretary of Agriculture, who responded with, I'll look into that, Mr. Dirt Guy, and I will get back to you. Whoa. That was the Secretary of Agriculture, by the way. And while we were on the subject of secretaries, I told the president, I said, you know what we need? We need a Secretary of Beer. Secretary of Beer. I think that would fix the problem. Twofold, actually, because the Secretary of Beer would say, we're carrying MGDs everywhere. Boom. Everybody gets their MGD. It would also then solve the fruit problem, in my opinion. Because you could say, I want MGDs in every restaurant, everywhere in the United States, and you need to ask the customer if they want the fruit. A 2-for-1 deal. The president thought about that for a little bit and kind of decided that we'll just put a pin. We'll put a pin in that one. Not certain about the commitment, but I am confident I'm going to get that phone call. And when I do, y'all don't get no dirt guy no more, because I'm going to D.C. All right, anyway, enough about what I think. I'd like to know what you think. Why don't you write what you think down there in that comment section? And let's connect, let's hook up, let's be a community. Make it a great day, people. I'll talk to you later.